Hello? Can you hear me, sir? Pastor Geoff? Hello?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning and welcome, sir.
Yeah, good to meet you.
Same here, and welcome again and again.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day.
It is.
So I've been waiting room for like 10 minutes.
Forgive me, the network was playing reggae dance on me.
I can understand that.
I just hope it behaves itself all throughout. And good morning to the other participants. I can see Pastor Vaughn here. I've got two Vaughn. I don't know who the other Vaughn is. Hello.
Hello, morning, sir. This is me.
Oh, morning, ma'am. How are you, ma'am?
I'm good, and you, sir?
Absolutely welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Great. So we got two of our panelists already on hand. I'm not sure we're going to have AGK because I got a message from him about a few minutes ago that he had to do a quick trip outside of Lagos, but we're waiting for Mr. Emmanuel, and I hope he joins us soon.
Okay.
So outside that, we are set and good to go here. If he joins us, then fine, but if he comes in much later, okay, all well and good. So I'll just wait another 1 or 2 minutes, and then we would kickstart the event.
Very well.
Thank you all again. Thank you all.
Thanks for the opportunity.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you.
Yes.
Light of the color. What about
no,
that?
there's no light.
What about that?
Flashlight.
What about that? You want me to say?
Okay, good morning again and welcome everyone. I got another of our panelists here, Mr. Emmanuel. Mr. Emmanuel, good morning to you. Mr. Emmanuel, can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Good morning, everyone. Loud and clear. Can you hear me?
All the other market people by you.
Is that?
You can market women on your side. Hello.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Great, great, great. So now that we have you, the only person we don't have on the panel list is Mr. Ejike Obarisi. So we're going to start. Pastor Von, who was the honor of we're talking about something very important. So if you don't mind, please, Pastor Von, if you can hear me.
Father, we thank you this morning. We bless your holy name for this noble intention. And we ask that from the beginning to the end, that you glorify yourself in our thoughts, in our submission, in our reasoning, and finally in our conclusion, in Jesus' name. In Jesus' name I pray.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
We appreciate you greatly. Quickly, I'll just give a bit of background about what we're about to do. And after that, I would introduce panelists and then we'll take it up from there. Okay, so this is on the platform of the Thriving Ministers and Business Leaders Network. something I created recently.
I want to spend out my money. It's 93,000. You know that it's changing.
You know what we do, whether ministers in the pulpit or ministers in the marketplace, as well as business leaders, you know, so that we have something to connect. And this is the maiden edition of one of the several programs we're going to be doing. And we have tagged Roundtable.
Apostle. Apostle, can you mute? Can you mute some people?
Okay, I've done that. Thank you. I've done that. So, so this is the first of the several or many roundtable discussions we're going to be having. And because the elections are just around the corner, it's a front burner topic for me, and I believe it is for most of us. So we're looking at something very, very important towards 2023, which is the topic, to lead and not to rule. The quest for credible leadership. Hallelujah. Okay, somebody said I should increase my volume. I think it is at the highest already. That is what it is. Please bear with me. My volume is already at the highest. I know network is playing a fast one on us, but we would trust that everything will be fine. Okay, so given the background of that, the idea is to bring stakeholders like us together. Of course, by what I know, most of us have the calling of either being ministry or doing something around ministry, and also very much involved with business. And we know that whether we like it or not, policies that are taken by government or people in leadership in the country in every way affects us. Okay, so in 1960, of course, Nigeria had our independence, and the start of the Fourth Republic, which of course started in 1999, began. We've had about 22 years of unbroken democratic rule. While much of the others have been under military rule and dictators, you know, in all these things, the nation has not fared better due to the challenge of credible leadership. And that brings us to the electoral process of how we choose our leaders and, of course, representatives. Sadly, the only election that has been adjudged as being fair and credible was in 1993, which was later annulled by the military junta of Ibrahim Babangida. Okay, just a minute. Okay, not a problem. Okay, I've seen that. So ever since then, Nigeria has grappled with electing credible leaders that will steer the ship of the nation to sustainable growth and, of course, development. As we now prepare for the general elections in 2023, February precisely, there is no better time than now to have this conversation. The question is, how do we identify, promote, and elect credible leaders, not rulers, selfless individuals, not career politicians, God-fearing and righteous men? No doubt the future of Nigeria is great and pivotal to the connected development of Africa. Until Nigeria wakes up, I beg your pardon, and gets it right, Africa may not be emancipated from the quagmire of poverty, of illiteracy, of underdevelopment, and so on and so forth. So today we have 3 or 4 major leading presidential candidates contesting for the highly exalted position or office of the president. Mind you, elections into the various houses of assembly, House of Rep, and of course the Senate will be taking place as well. The race has begun. Nigerians, as usual, are asking and seeking who the next set of leaders would be. So, we are here this morning. What would you say, or what would be your opening statement as far as the quest for credible leaders and leadership is concerned in Nigeria? The question, are we looking for a Nigerian leader or a true leader who is Nigerian? So that would be my opening this morning. And then I would like to quickly introduce our first panelist, who would do justice by telling us his position. And that would be my very good friend and brother, Geoff Harumi. I know this man as a maker and producer of leaders. So if you are asking me, there is no better person to talk about leadership like when Geoff talks about leadership. He is so passionate about it. Leadership runs in his blood like, I don't know what to describe it as. So without wasting time, I want to blowing of his trumpet. Please make welcome who's also a pastor and the president of the Super Achievers Center. So, Pastor Geoff, the platform is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much, Apostle. I want to thank you especially for giving me this opportunity and this platform to talk about leadership, especially in Nigeria and the forthcoming elections, the presidential elections, so to speak. The truth of the matter is that, you know, Nigeria needs a psychological evaluation. You know, we are a blind nation, a blind country, so to speak, being led by blind rulers, not leaders. The country is on fire, but I don't see anybody running. People are dying every day and nobody's complaining. People are going to bed hungry. People are going to school without being taught anything significant, and yet nobody's complaining. Now, sometimes you see a journalist or an activist complaining about a matter, complaining about the bad and the wrong system. After some months, this journalist that is so articulate, that is so eloquent about, you know, about the inability of a specific leader or leaders, will suddenly become quiet. Why did he become quiet? He became quiet because his stomach has been fed. He became quiet because somebody has given him a check. So now, this is the kind of country we live in. Let me share something. You know, despite an age of unprecedented global prosperity and the existence of a global network of poverty reduction institutions, poverty persists and is intensifying among certain groups and regions. Unfortunately, Africa's share of this global poverty is monumental, as over 70% of the African family are living below the United Nations $2 per day. And this is the example we have in Nigeria. Nigeria is the leader of the black race. Nigeria is the mobilizer and the motivator of the black race. And Nigeria is asleep. If Nigeria is asleep, that means Africa is asleep. Now, what is expected of African leaders is to take the lead, not only in Nigeria, but in Africa. You know, the African continent, they are looking up to Nigeria to provide leadership. But Nigeria is confused. Nigeria is disoriented. Nigeria is discomfited. We don't know what to do. We don't know when to do what to do. We don't know how to do what to do. We don't know when to do what to do. So we are in a confused state. But the good news is this: another opportunity has come for us to choose a leader. This is a golden opportunity. What are we going to do this opportunity? We have Peter Obi, we have Akinkunmi, and we have Bola Tinubu. Now, these three guys want to lead us. I don't know who is your candidate, but one thing is, however, certain. Many good people are going to vote another bad leader. I'm talking about intellectuals. I'm talking about people that went to the university, that are sound, people that can analyze and distinguish between good and bad. They are still going to vote another bad leader. Why? Because of tribalism. Why? Because of nepotism. Why? Because of sentiments. This man is from my region. Because this man is an Hausa man, I must vote an Hausa man because he's an Hausa man. He is my brother. This man is a Yoruba man, therefore I must vote this Yoruba man because I am Yoruba. This man is Igbo, therefore I must vote an Igbo man because it is our turn. An Igbo man has never ruled the nation. So an Igbo man must rule, irrespective of whether the Igbo man knows his right from his wrong. The Yoruba man must rule because it's the time of the Yorubas, even though the Yoruba man is sick. That is where we find ourselves. Until we surgically remove nepotism, tribalism, and sentiments from our politics, our economy will continue to go down. Our country will continue to sink, and everything about us will soon become history. Where have we gone wrong? We have gone wrong in many instances. We have gone wrong in many episodes. But like I said, this is another opportunity to vote the right leader. And I conclude this segment with this. Good people are still going to vote another bad leader. Thank you very much, Apostle.
Excellent opening, sir. Well, I believe the conversation is still on. Thank you for that opening statement, sir. Good people are still going to vote in bad leaders. I think I heard that over and over again. We hope that by the end of this discussion, what we should be bringing out is how do people begin to identify who that good leader is, and then we can entrench them in the places of government or governance, and so the nation can have progress, as it were. I'm going to call on, okay, right now, one second. Okay, she's here, great. So I've known Mrs. Akinkunmi Folashade for a while now, and she is very good at what she does. She's very passionate. Outside the fact that she is family protection expert, I know they have a very big title for that. The family is the nucleus, like they say, of every society. And so Mrs. Akinkunmi Folashade is one who knows exactly where this begins. Every leader, whether he's good or bad, came from a family. So the quest for credible leadership, we can say, will begin from the home. It begins from the family. Towards 2022, we are looking for credible leaders. And so I'm going to be inviting Mrs. Folashade Akinkunmi, who will talk to us for another 10 minutes on our opening statement on this vital topic that we're looking at this morning, the quest for credible leadership. How do we begin? So without much ado, please make welcome to the platform Mrs. Akinkunmi Folashade as she tells us or gives us our opening statement on this very vital discussion this morning. Mrs. Folashade, please.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone.
Thank
I want to
you.
appreciate the organizers of this team for coming up with this at this time. This is what we need. What responsibility will be more than leadership and development of people? And we just need to do it now. And I want to appreciate Apostle Sidney for this opportunity. Now, leadership is an act. It is an act on its own. The ability to read and write is not a spiritual thing. Let's understand it. So leadership needs to be learned. The way we need to learn to read and write, without it, you're going nowhere in this world. So also with leadership, we need to learn leadership. So who is a leader and why do we need leaders? Like he said, every one of us comes from a home. We all came from a family. And so for us to have a good leader, we need to know who a leader is. A leader is someone who can first lead himself and after that influence others to follow him or a movement. That's a leader. We need a leader and not a ruler in Nigeria. Like we've all rightly said, Nigeria, what we have in Nigeria is a ruler. We don't have a leader, but we need a leader. So the ability to lead yourself first and then later on influence others to follow you, that's a leader. And that's what we need in Nigeria. Now we're talking about credibility. Well, it's good that Nigeria now has Association of Credible Leaders. And I'm happy about this movement that is on now. So we need credibility. Credibility is crucial for a leader. A leader needs to be credible. And what is that? It's very important for every leader because trust is what holds a leader and his followers together. There's no trust, you can't go anywhere. So it boils back to the family. It takes time to develop trust and quality for us to be a leader. So it comes back to the family. How can a mom be a credible leader to her children? Because like I said, we all come from a family. And then men are always blamed as, it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault at home. For you to have credibility, it must first come from your wife. Your wife should be able to see you as somebody who is credible. If you're not credible, even right from the home, it can't work in the community and it can't work in the society. So it all comes back to the home. The man, how credible are you at home? Can your children see the mother as a credible leader? And then that's how it starts. Even in everywhere we are, in your place of work or wherever you are you a credible person? How are you leading others? Are you just giving out the rules? Are you just dishing orders? Or you're living by example? Like I said, a leader needs to lead by example. He himself, we need to see that example in himself, in you yourself that you're saying, don't do this. You're telling us not to do this. We need to see that's how it runs in the family. The father is saying the children should not lie. That means that father too should not lie. And so it comes to our society. If we are telling our subordinates not to lie, then we need not to lie. That's a leader. That, like I said, it starts from the home. We're not looking, I don't want us to go out there and think that Nigeria, we are the Nigerians. And the Nigeria starts from home, starts from me and starts from you. Nigeria needs a leader and not a ruler. And how do we get that leader or a ruler? It starts from you and me. Like I like the first speaker, he said, even good people will vote the bad ones. Very correct. I've met people that are good and they are well educated, but they're still talking about the bad ones that they are going to vote. But it starts with you and me. Our mentality has to change. You know, Nigeria, we're already used to bad things. So when you find someone doing something good, you find it strange. Our mentality is already corrupted. Even as a family, our mentality is corrupted. So we need to change. Our settings needs to change. Our orientation needs to change. We need to oppose what is evil and stand for the truth, always, not just sometimes. When we find someone doing something upright, we stare and say, is this person in Nigeria? Does he know what is happening? In your business, how are you doing your business? Credibility is what matters. If we can stand as a family, as credible people, that is how it will spread. You know, a light, if you put on a matchbox, it gives you light. That's how it is in our homes and that's how it is in the community. You need to be a light. You need to be a light first. I need to be a light first. Let's not, fine, we're talking about Nigeria, but you are the Nigeria and I'm the Nigeria. So we need to start by you being the light in the little things you do, even in your community, doing it the right way, doing it the correct way. And that's how people see you and be able to follow you. But if we keep talking about it and talking about, and we are not even being effective with it, it can't work, sir. You need to show by example. A leader is one who will show and teach by his own life and style. He will do the work. He will walk. He will do the work and do the talking, not just doing the talking. A leader walks the
Hello?
I think we lost her. Is it just me?
Oh, sorry.
Hello?
Can you hear me now?
We can
Okay,
hear
we
you.
can hear you. Welcome
All
back.
right. Like I said, thank you. Like I said, leadership is an art. It is not something that just comes from the blues. It starts with you and it starts with me. We need to lead in every affair, any affair, wherever you find yourself. Like I said, it starts from the home. How does the father lead the wife and the children? Credibility. If we can start from that family to go out and it will come to the community and everywhere. Like Nigeria now, what we need is a leader. We don't need a ruler because we've had rulers all the while. We need a leader, not one that will give us order, but one that will lead, exemplifying himself. Thank you.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you so much, Ma. And no other person, I believe, would have said it better, because when it comes to family matters, Mrs. Akinkunmi is one that can be reckoned with, even nationally. Thank you, Matt, for your time. I think some of the things I picked from your statement is that leadership must be learned. You talked about the fact that trust is required and that family is key in all of this. In all of that, I think I learned that it must start with us. We don't need rulers, we need leaders. And how do they start? They start from us. They start from the home, where you and I usually interface almost most part of the day or most part of our lives. Thank you again, Mrs. Akinkunmi von Thomas.
Thank you, sir.
I'm going to be inviting quickly Mr. Emmanuel Odoemelam. Mr. Emmanuel is passionate about business. In fact, the first time I saw his shoe enterprise, you know, the name caught my fancy. I laughed. I said, this man is, but this is one man when it comes to building small businesses, building people in terms of how, you know, they develop themselves. This man stands tall at, you know, the summit of it all. Mr. Emmanuel is also a radio host. He has this SME Digest program he hosts on Inspiration FM, and he's here on the platform to talk to us about the topic that we're looking at towards 2023, to lead and not to rule, the quest for credible leadership. He's my friend and he's my brother as well. So without much ado, please make welcome to the platform, Mr. Emmanuel Odoemelam, as he talks to us this morning, you know, giving us his opening statement. Mr. Emmanuel, please, the platform is yours.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Morning, sir.
Mr. Emmanuel, are you there?
All right, great.
Yes, Emmanuel said so. Oh. Mr. Emmanuel.
We all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, but it sounds like music. Oh, okay. So why Mr. Emmanuel is trying to, the network is trying to coordinate him back to us. We're going to be, okay. Okay, I think maybe he's trying to log in back. So just while we wait for Mr. Emmanuel to come back to the platform, Pastor Geoff, you are there, right? Okay, I'm trying to readmit Mr. Emmanuel back. Just a second, please.
Hello? I'm back, sorry.
Great.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, great. All right. So, sorry, I want to move to a part where calls, because calls keep coming in. So let me just try and stop it.
Okay.
Yeah, let me try and stop it right.
So please, let's be patient with Mr. Emmanuel. I'm sure in a few seconds he'll be back. I can see that we have Apostle Nathaniel Ajayi with us. Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Wow, it's good to have you here. And I'm sure you have one or two contributions, much more in the discussion to lend us as far as credible leadership is concerned in our nation. So, Mr. Emmanuel, are you there?
All right, good morning, I'm back.
Great.
Can you all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right. So, as I was about saying before I went offline, I just want to say thank you very much for setting up such a great platform and such a great, concept. And I also want to say, you really set me up by placing me in the midst of these great minds. I'm just like a nurse at the doctor's convention, but what great insight they shared already. Okay, I would, starting from the master himself, the Geoff, Pastor Geoffrey, but we connect, so I call him the Geoff. Talking about politicians and all of that. For me, I believe that there's a difference between politicians and leaders. Like Geoffrey has said, we're supposed to be the leader of Africa, but with what we're saying, because we have politicians and not leaders, we are lagging behind. So it's a problem. And one thing that separates politicians from leaders is to know that politicians focus on the next election and leaders focus on the next generation. So these are two, way of seeing life that is so different, because when you see one who is focused on the next generation, you are doing things based on integrity, you do things based on innovation, you do things based on transforming and leading as a nation. Your nation become a leading nation, but what we have today are those who are so concerned about winning the election and lacing their personal pockets, with the national treasure. So this is one thing. And also, Mrs. Akinkunmi said something about the family. Every nation,
Hello, Mr. Emmanuel. Oh, I guess the network again. Mr. Emmanuel, are you there? Okay. So we'll just hope that Mr. Emmanuel can join us back. Pastor Geoff, you're there. I wanted to ask you, because we would have to continue on this conversation. You talked about the fact that
Yes.
Nepotism, tribalism, and ethnicity has been the bane why we can't get credible leaders as far as Nigeria and Africa at large is concerned. How do we begin to identify these people? Because we have them. You are a credible leader. I've known you for a while. I've had to minister at your local assembly and all of that. How do we begin to identify these people? Because everybody talks about the fact that we are a corrupt people, everybody is in it. How do we begin to identify these people? I think you have some clue into that. If you
I
don't
can't hear you at all. I can't hear a single word in that question.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Hello?
Hello? Hello?
Emmanuel, can you hear us now? Mr. Emmanuel?
Yes, I can. I'm back now.
Okay, so
Can you hear me?
Okay, we will let you continue. Go ahead. I was talking with Pastor Geoff. Go ahead.
So let me just state quickly before anything. So as a result of that, I think one thing that everyone needs to understand is who a leader is, what a leader is. And there's a definition I like to give when it comes to the matter of leadership. Leadership is simply when people choose to follow you to a place they cannot go by themselves. Leadership is when people choose to follow you to a place they cannot go by themselves. And when you look at this definition, one thing you must understand is, number one, there's a choice. People, you don't force people to follow you, they choose to follow you to a place they cannot go by themselves. So the question is, where is this place that they cannot go to by themselves? One of the first things you need to know, that place is called the future. The future. The future. That place is called the future. So when people want a better nation, people want, better life, better health system, better working system. But the question is, can the leaders we have see the future? Because there's a difference between seeing and looking. You look with your eyes, but you see with your mind. But the challenge we have is that, like I mentioned earlier, we have more politicians. We hardly have leaders. So that is the challenge we are facing as a people. We don't have leaders, we have politicians. So as a result of that, these people are looking, because people who look are more after the next election. But leaders who see are after the next generation. So can you see the future? Do you see a Nigeria beyond oil? Do you see a Nigeria beyond bad roads and lack of electricity, lack of power, lack of basic amenities of life? So every leader must learn to recognize the future and seize the future. So anyone who can recognize the future and seize the future is the one that you can trust and say, this is the leader. And you don't do that. They don't do that by what they say. Because listen, what you do is so loud that people cannot hear what you say. So the question is, as an individual, what is your character in terms of, when we look at integrity, on the scale of 1 to 10, do you have a scale? What is your rating when we talk about integrity? Because we have a lot of these people coming up. They want to lead, they want to lead. And when you look at their antecedents, it's nothing to write home about. In fact, they should bury their head in shame and pull out of the race. Because what we're talking about here is leadership. And when you talk about leadership, the foundational stone of leadership is integrity, commitment. We're looking at character. We're looking at your ability to sacrifice and your power of communication. These are foundational stones of integrity. So if one is lacking when it comes to the foundational stone of integrity, I don't think there's even, the person shouldn't be considered. Because if you lack integrity, then when it comes to bringing innovation, it will be faulty. There will be a fault there. So you cannot really deliver because you compromise when it comes to a lot of things. So I think that is the little basics I just want to say that. Thank you.
Wow. Wow, fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Emmanuel. Such an opener. I was just writing all the way. But, you know, okay, thank you again. But I haven't said all of this. We should have had Barrister Ejike, who I also know is very passionate about leadership in this country, and he wants the best, but unfortunately he couldn't join us because he has to be on the road. We've looked at all these things, and I'm sure most of the things that our panelists have said this morning, they are not new to us as a people. This has been the cry, this has been the quest since our independence, and also since 1999, when we started the democratic protest in Nigeria, you know, that has been unbroken for 22 years. The question I was going to ask Pastor Geoff, and I'm sure he's there listening, is,
Oh, yeah.
We've talked about the fact that we need leaders and not rulers. We need leaders and not politicians who focus on the next election, because I'm just taking from Mr. Emmanuel's statement. People of integrity, people who have innovative ideas, people who are full of character, commitment, people who can communicate with the people. He said that leadership is when people choose to, you know, follow you to a place that they can't go by themselves. It reminds me of that song, I don't know where they currently go, you know, but what I'm going to, and that is very important, and I'm going to ask it to all of our panelists, is how do we begin to identify these people? Because I don't think leaders are scarce in Nigeria. Am I right? They're not scarce. How do we identify these people, and how do we begin to entrench them in the places, like they say, putting the right pegs in the right hole? Pastor Geoff, do you understand anything I said?
Yes, I got you.
Great.
I got you. Now, I think the first step is analyzing your track record. Everybody has a track record. Everybody was born sometime, and so everybody grew up in a family. Everybody went to a specific school, and everybody worked in a particular place or in a career. So track record, where or when were you born? What school did you go to? What family did you come from? What jobs and responsibilities have you handled? What leadership role have you played in your community, in your city, in your country, and in the world? What was your result? What was your success story? So now, if we go back and begin to track this as our demands, or the politicians, or the proposed leader, if we start tracking his track record, what has he done in the past? Then we will know whether this man can be trusted or not. We will know whether this man has built capacity or not. We will know whether this man is a thief or not. We will know whether this man is capable of inspiring and motivating progress or not. So far, we have gone and we have seen the track records of the three major presidential aspirants. And we know for sure those that don't have a good track record. We know for sure those that have a good track record. But the problem is this. The problem is in the process of selection. We know who is capable, but are we willing to vote in who is capable? We know who has a good track record, but are we able to select that person? That is the question. Our ability to select the right person. Now, this brings me to the notion where some Western scholars have accused the black folk that the black folk cannot think. Now, in the 1980s, 1990s, This has been the notion of Westerners, Europeans, saying that the black man cannot think, that the black man is incapable of governing himself. Now, I don't blame these guys, these white folks, for accusing the black man that he cannot think, that he's not capable of leadership. Why is this so? Because once upon a time, the Nigerian project was a successful project. The South African project was a successful project. The Liberian, the Sierra Leonean project was a successful project. But when our leaders, so to speak, they fought for independence, and consequently, they got the independence they fought for. As soon as the white folk left their country became a war zone. As soon as the white folk left their continent was plunged by hunger, insecurity, terrorism, and barbarism. So now, can the white man be said to be wrong when he said the black man cannot think? When the white man left, there was chaos. When the white man left, poverty plunged. When the white man left, war came. So are we really capable of leading ourselves? Now, good leaders don't come from heaven. Nelson Mandela did not come from heaven. Abraham Lincoln did not come from heaven. Lee Kuan Yew did not come from heaven. These guys grew up from families. We know them. At what point did they change? At what point did they become thieves? Now, let me say a brief story. Sam Adeyemi was talking somewhere in a leadership platform, and he said something very striking. He said, if a group of thieves want to elect their president, now this group of thieves, they have an association, and they want to elect their president. That who will they elect? Will they elect a thief, or will they elect a pastor? The answer is obvious. If thieves want to elect their president, they are going to elect a thief. They are going to elect a professional thief. So now, Nigerians have been electing thieves into governance. Does that imply that those that are electing these thieves are thieves? Are we all thieves? Because we're the ones that are electing these people into office. Now, this matter we are discussing is very, very critical. I wish we have a bigger platform to talk about this. My first encounter with leadership crisis, or the concept of leadership, was when I was in JSS2. I was still a boy. I read a novel that shook the very foundations of my intellectual independence. That novel is titled Animal Farm, I think by George Orwell. Some of you must have read it. In that novel, there was this animal kingdom, and they all came together and they drafted laws. They made rules that every animal must or should abide by. Then a bad leader took over power, and he started changing all these laws. One of the laws is that no animal can kill another animal. No animal should kill another animal. The second rule is that all animals are equal. But when this guy took over power, he changed everything. He now instituted a cabal, and they started ruling unjustly. And when the other animals saw that these guys are missing it out, they invited them out for a meeting. They said, let us read the law. You guys are against the law. You guys are not following. You guys are not abiding by the principles of the laws we enacted. Then the bad leader brought out the laws. And where they wrote, all animals are equal, it has been edited. It has been changed to all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal. That was my experience with leadership at that time. I was grossly disappointed. And now, today, in the 21st century, in the year 2022, I see that replaying. All Nigerians are equal. But some
Pastor Geoff,
Nigerians,
I'm going to cut in. Pastor Geoff, I'm going to cut in there. Thank you so much. I'm going to cut in there because we need to make use of the time so we can at least outline some things before this event is over.
Okay.
Mrs. Folashade, yes, I'm going to go to Mrs. Folashade now. Mrs. Folashade, you are there. Identifying who these credible leaders are. Because 2023 is here. I'm taking from what Pastor Geoff mentioned. People are still going to vote in bad leaders. Why? Because there is hunger in the land. And so with 1,000 naira or 2,000 naira, some items here and there, people's consciences can be bought. So what we are doing today here is not just for 2023, it's for 2023 and beyond, okay? Our prayer is that we get it right in 2023, which will be a very good foundation going forward. So you are an expert in family matters, family protection, and how to build people at that level. How do we begin to identify leaders at that level and begin to project them for leadership positions in the future? Because many a times we are not even grooming our people for leadership. And that is why these politicians do a kind of recycling, live there, put their children, put their henchmen, put their cronies, and the vicious cycle just continues. Yeah. How do we start identifying them from the family setting, begin to groom them and tell them you have a stake, you have a role to play. You cannot just be a statistics and all of that. So I need your input from that perspective.
Thank you, sir. Like I said our mentality is already corrupted.
Very corrupted.
Very corrupted. So even when we see someone who wants to do good, we oppose it. We don't want anything upright. So it comes back to our families. Even the Bible is complete when he said, a man who cannot rule his home cannot rule the church. We Christians, we are thinking politics. Thank God we are now saying that we can do politics, but we see politics as a taboo or as a crime. Now to use the church as a family. Sir, I want us to see the church as the family now. If we in the church begin to live right, upright, do things correctly, we will raise leaders from ourselves, good leaders who have the fear of God, who knows God, and who knows the right thing to do. One who can show by his examples what he teaches, what he says. Even when you go out, people say, I'm a Christian, but are they seeing Christ in us? If they cannot see Christ in us, we have nowhere to go. We need to be practical. We don't want to just keep saying things. Let's do what we say. Even as a church, as Christians, let them see us as examples. If people begin to live exemplary life right from the church, they will see that even when they want to vote, they will see that this is a Christian. We call ourselves Christians. Are we doing what Christ has said? Can they differentiate us with the world? That is leaders. If they cannot differentiate us right from the church, then there's no way they can differentiate us outside. So we come back to the home. If we cannot live rightly, if a father cannot live rightly, if a mother cannot live rightly, then the children cannot live rightly because the children are just following what the parents are doing. And for the future, we're not talking about just only the now, the future. So it comes back to our homes, begin to do things the right way. Mothers, when we go to the market, and we extort money from our husbands, that is corruption. It's as simple as that. We take money when it comes for school fees, we add more money for fees. Our children are seeing all this. And then it comes even to the husband that in the place of work is not being sincere. He takes things that does not belong to him and comes home. It's part of the corruption. And that is how we need to start working from the home front, from the home level. I begin to correct our children, training them intentionally. Not just talking. We need to train our children intentionally to know what is right and what is wrong, so that when they grow, they will know that this is right and this is wrong. I come back to the home again to say we need to start from the home. The Bible has said a man that cannot leave his wife and his home cannot lead the church. So if we want to lead this nation, we should be able to lead from the home. The church should be able to lead. We should be able to raise people in the church that are sincere even with the offering in the church, or sincere even with the things that they place there to do in the church. So we come out first. We need to be light first. Show the light, stand as light. We need to be intentional. For us to be good leaders, we need to be intentional. Our mentality has to change. When we see something good, let's absorb it. Let's accept it. Anything good, let's take it in. Because now we can see those leaders, we know who can do the right thing. But because of the money that they will give, because of the food that they will put in our belly, we don't even want to choose the right leaders. So we need to come down to the roots to see it from the home first. How are you behaving at home? How is your character at home? From there, we can proceed to go outside. From the home, we can now go to the community, that people can pick us from the community and say, this person is living right. We can use this person as a leader because he does what he says. Like I said, leadership is ability for you to rule yourself first and then influence others to follow you. So if your wife and children can follow you with good leadership in the home, it will extend into the church. And then we can see that our leaders in the church, we can follow them. But if you look at the church, we cannot even follow our leaders because they are not doing the right thing. So how can we take them out there and want to vote them as governors and presidents? So it starts from the home. We need to get the roots right. We need to get it straight from the home. Our mentality has to just change. You cannot give what you don't have. It's first from within. You can't give what you don't have. So it has to start from the home. How am I leading my home? How am I behaving at home? What's my character at home? What's my attitude at home? What's my behavior? Even to good things and to bad things. It goes even to as simple as littering the streets. When you eat or your children take things in the car, they throw it on the street. You take a drink, you fling it on the road. A leader won't do that. So we need to start from the home, correcting our children, intentionally correcting our children. The Bible says, train up a child in a way that it should go. So that means the mother and the father has to be trained themselves. They need to do it the right way. Then the children see it, and gradually it begins to extend to the community. People will be able to pick us out in the community and pick us out in the church, and then we can go out. We need to be that light. That light has to start with you and me. Thank you, sir.
Wow. Wow. Thank you, Ma. Thank you, Ma. Thank you, Mrs. Folashade. I don't think, like I said, there is no better person to talk about family matters than when Mrs. Folashade is talking about it, because you can hear it in her voice, how passionate she is. What I've taken out from what Mrs. Folashade has said is that the kind of leaders we are looking for out there, we need to start creating them in our homes. That's exactly what it is. We need to start creating those kind of leaders from our homes. Whether it is us, whether it's our children, we need to start grooming them. Otherwise, it will be a situation where, God forbid, these people will continue to put their children there. And that she mentioned a lot about the church. She mentioned a lot about the family. I don't know if our spiritual father, Apostle Nat Ajayi, is still here. Apostle Nat Ajayi, Nathaniel Ajayi, are you still here, sir? I don't know if he's still here. I wanted to get his thoughts on the perspective, I mean, how the church is playing a role in all of this. But if he's not here, I'll go quickly to Mr. Emmanuel. We have some other participants on the platform. Thank you for joining us. Those of us who just joined, I appreciate your time. And I think this is for the collective good of all of us. Mr. Emmanuel, you are someone in business. There are many stakeholders. Mr. Emmanuel, are you there?
Yes,
Mr. Emmanuel,
I can hear you loud and clear.
Fantastic. So there are many stakeholders when it comes to the leadership quest as far as Nigeria and Africa is concerned. There are many stakeholders. One of the stakeholders are the people in business. And that's why the platform on which we are running this is the Thriving Ministers and Business Leaders Network. One of the stakeholders are business people. We've seen how business people have played a major role in how politicians are elected in this country, okay? And we've seen how the policies also that have been reeled out by these politicians have either affected business people positively or negatively. How do business people begin to make that bold statement in terms of their participation, in terms of their role in achieving credible leadership for this nation going forward, especially with the elections that are coming? What is that pivotal role that business people need to start playing or need to start involving in to help us achieve credible leadership beyond 2023?
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you for that great question. I really appreciate the great question. You know, you asked the question earlier, which I would like to address from the aspect of personal experience. In,
Okay, go ahead.
in 2017, I was going to run as a counselor somewhere around Amuwo.
Great.
And I started attending, you know, political party meetings. And the first day I attended that party meeting, that was the day I saw the problem of Nigeria. You know, when I attended party meeting, that was the day I saw the problem of Nigeria. You know, I got there and I was like, almost like the only sane person there. I'm not saying other people are not, but you notice that all these guys you see on the way who do Odoemelam, who collect money from bosses, who fight, who break bottle, all the area boys, the touts, they were all present. They don't miss meetings. They were all at the meeting. But myself, yourself, the likes of everyone who is attending this meeting today, we were nowhere to be found. Are you getting it?
Yes.
We were nowhere to be found. And this is where they decide who will rule us. Who will rule us. Because on the election day, everything has been decided. It's just that people are coming out. These are now the people that the area boys and these guys have chosen. They are now giving it to you that this is the best option we have chosen. You have to vote there. So, and you and I are busy in our offices. We are like, no, politics this, politics that, and all of that. Believe me, let me tell you something. Whatever you don't touch, you cannot change. Whatever you don't touch, you cannot change. Your presence is required to effect the change. So when I got there and saw all these things, even the day I was asked to make a statement, while I was making my statement, introducing myself, I was just hearing somebody from behind speaking. Say, that is this one that is just speaking grammar, and this one will. I beg you, make carry grammar, go sit down. That was what they were saying. So the problem is that fools have been multiplying because the wise ones are silent. And the wise ones are silent. The fools are multiplying. And the fools are taking the political role, even though they are not leaders, they are politicians. So they are taking over. That's why in a country like Nigeria, we have the rest leading the best. That's why you can have Buhari be a president and Oshibanjo is the vice. That's what we call complete disorder. Total disorder. So this is, first of all, we must deal with it foundationally. And how can business people play? You need to take the skill from the marketplace into the business place. If you go to America, politicians are mainly business people. And why did they go into politics? They go into politics to take positions so that they can make decisions, you know, that policies that will favor their industry. But here, people go into offices to steal money. But there, people go into offices to make policies that will empower their industry. That's why they keep going by the day. So it is high time business people wake up and know that to win in business, you need to go into politics and make good policies that will favor your industry. And when your industry is favored, believe you me, there is no stopping that. That's just the little thing I want to say.
Thank you so much, Mr. Emmanuel. I don't think there is anything better than that. Business people need to wake up and go into politics or influence politics in such a way that policies and decisions that are made there will better their industry. I mean, that's exactly how it is. And so whether we are talking about business, we're talking about family, we're talking about education, whatever it is, whatever you don't touch, you can't change. I borrowed that from Mr. Emmanuel. Whatever we can't touch, we can't change. So what exactly this is pointing at is that there is a need for credible political groups set up by people of integrity and character, not politicians. Because what I've seen is that, like we have said, and some of our speakers have reiterated, is that these politicians prepare for the next election, not for the future of the nation. They only prepare for the next election because for them, as long as they continue there, it's a free chase for all the resources, the monies, and all of that. And that's exactly what we are seeing today. I wanted to get a perspective. We've talked about all of this. Now the question is, what is it that you and I are doing? Mr. Emmanuel mentioned something very critical, that the touts, the street urchins, the people who we think don't matter are the ones who make political decisions at the grassroots level, at the ward level. The question is, how many of us are members of political parties? Because if we go by what you don't touch, you can't change, how do we begin to influence anything from our offices or from our pulpits and all of that? They said to him, this man is just speaking grammar. So to them, he can't really make the change. He has not brought them a bag of money or told them whatever it is that he can offer them at that particular time. So, Pastor Geoff, you are there. Pastor Geoff, you have several groups that you have created as a way of influencing people. Mr. Emmanuel said leaders are those people who people choose to follow to places that they can't get to. You have created several mini groups here and there, and you have become a great influence on a lot of young people that I can testify about. So right now, how do we take those nucleus of small groups and turn them into political groups that make big and loud statements that people can begin to say, oh, these are the kind of people we can follow? How do we change that narrative from where we are now to what we want to see?
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. Yes, indeed, we have built capacity on a grassroots level. We have built many platforms, many organizations, many NGOs, and of course, even WhatsApp groups that have been equipping young leaders and giving them the power, the audacity to dare the future with extraordinary courage. Most of the young people we've built have started businesses, they have started organizations, and they are stimulating industries at the moment. But before I answer your question properly, I would like to bring this to the table, that we must recognize how powerful we are as citizens, as the electorate. We must recognize how powerful we are. You know, we cry about our helplessness, we cry about our hopelessness, but we don't know our powerfulness. You know, you and I are so powerful that we can inspire and motivate change. You and I are so powerful that we can cause a revolution to happen in a clap. Now, if a football team is not winning, who do you change? You change the coach. If a pastor is not growing, who do you change? If a church is not growing, who do you change? You change the pastor. If a government is not progressing, who do you change? You change the head of government. But I don't see this happening in our country. I don't see this, functioning. There are clauses in the Nigerian constitution where the citizens can call back the electorate. We can call back the senator. We can call back the member of the house. But we are not doing this. That means we are the causes of the problem. Now you voted somebody and the person is not living up to expectations. What do you do as an electorate? In a constituency, what do we do? Let's call back the person and elect another person that has credibility, elect another person that has intelligence, elect another person that has ideas. So now we have ignored our powerfulness and we have embraced helplessness and hopelessness. Talking about young people, the best way, to bring young people to this awareness, the best way to give young people their power is by grooming. Grooming is an amazing concept. Mentorship is an amazing concept. When you pick up a child and you start telling the child about leadership, start telling the child about the defects of the Nigerian leadership system. Start grooming that child. Telling him that when you become a leader, this is what you should do and this is what you should not do. Do you read books? How many books have you read this year? You, the convener, how many books have you read this year? We, the facilitators, how many books about leadership have you read this year? We must gain mastery. We shouldn't be critics, just critics alone. No, we should be influencers. In your own way, create your own local government. Create a micro government. This is what we are teaching these young people, that they have the ability, they have the capacity to create their own nucleus, their own micro or local government. I am a local government. I have a family. I am the head of that family. Everybody came from somewhere. So when you start thinking that irrespective of whether you have a title or you don't have a title, you are a leader. We are all leaders, but what are we doing with our leadership? We are all leaders, but what are we doing with our ideas? God has blessed us with so many ideas, but what have we done with the ideas? Nothing. God did not give you something. God gave you everything. You have everything you need to lead a successful life. Consumers have hijacked Africa and nobody's saying anything. Bad leaders have hijacked the country and we're not doing anything. Now, if we can take borrow a leaf from the revolution that just happened, the one that they blocked the Lekki toll gate, end SARS. That is the starting point. That is the first step towards leadership consciousness. Many intellectuals don't have leadership consciousness. They don't care about the government. The church don't care about the government. You find situations whereby even church leaders are bribed. Political leaders, we give the church leaders specific amounts so that they can influence their members. During the Jonathan elections, we saw how many leaders, how many church leaders, even the current president was accused of corruption. So what are we saying? Groom the young ones. Charity begins at home. We must learn grooming. We must learn mentorship. If the pastor is not progressing, change the pastor. If the coach is not progressing, change the coach. If the president is not progressing, change the president. We have the power. You are so powerful, but you are not using your power. Thank you.
Wow. I feel like I was getting off my seat and shouting. Thank you, Pastor Geoff. You've nailed it. What I got from what Pastor Geoff said, and this is very critical, is that the people are the actual leaders, while the leaders are the servants. So we need to understand how powerful we are. What we possess, it's much more than what we can even imagine. So he talked about the fact that grooming and mentorship is the way to go. And this is something I can attest that Geoff has been doing over the years, grooming and mentoring young people. We need to understand that we have to take the driver's seat as far as the positioning of Nigeria and Africa is concerned. We can't continue to be critics. We have to be involved. In fact, such platforms as we are having right now is not just for speaking and deliberating, but it's so that we can live here and go and affect and make great impact in the larger society. That is the whole essence of what we are doing here today. Not because we want to talk, but we want everyone in terms of your area of influence, leave this platform and go and be making influence. Okay? So that's exactly the point. He talked about a lot of things, and I'm going to use that to pursue our final discussion so that by 11:30 or thereabout, we can bring this discussion to a close. Now, we are in a particular place in our country where the country has never been divided, you know, like it is now. We've never had the call for secession like we have now. The Biafras are calling to go. The Oduduwas are calling to want to leave, you know, and so many other ethnic groups. Why? Because we've seen ourselves as not one, okay? We are not an indivisible country like we used to call ourselves. So it brings me back to where we started from. The issue of our PVCs, which is our permanent voters card, the issue of vote buying, which has become the norm today, the issue of inflation, which has affected people's earning power, and so whatever they give you at the election voting place is something that can at least ease your burden for 1 or 2 days. The issue of poverty, and now they've described Africa and Nigeria as the poverty headquarters of the world. In all of these things, how do people move away from all these things I've mentioned, poverty, inflation, vote buying, not even knowing what they need to do or how to choose? How do people need to move from all these things, you know, to helping us achieving credible leadership, whether it is in 2023 or in the years ahead of us? We need to start having that conversation. And that is why I'll call on our panelists, starting with Mrs. Akinkunmi, just maybe 5 minutes or thereabout, 2, 3, 5 minutes, as the case may be. How do people begin to move from this, all of this melee of issues that has plagued our nation, to helping us achieving credible leadership in 2023 and beyond?
Thank you, sir. Well, to do that is as easy as we coming back to our homes. Like I will always say, it starts from the home. You know, we are all busy. We are all very busy. The children go to school, we go to work, we're just cohabiting. We're not living to understand ourselves. Just like town hall meeting, we come together, discuss, and we disperse. Children go to school, we go to work, so we have little or no time. But we need to be intentional with our children. And to keep the family, we need time. That's the sacrifice. Birth, values, examples, relationship, and discipline. That's what will keep our children. If you've disciplined your children not to collect, you know, when they pay us money to go and vote, it's wrong. But if we have disciplined our children and told them the values that you don't take bribe, or we don't do what is wrong, they'll pick it up. And so even when they go outside and someone is asking them to sell their votes, they won't do that. So the values we put in these children is very important. And then the examples we give them, we need to have a relationship with our children, and then discipline. Discipline. We need to connect with the community we want to change. And how do we connect with this community? Starts from our home. So what are the values you give your children? What are the values you have as a father? What are the examples we are showing to these children? What relationship do we have? A lot of us don't have relationships with our children. And that's why, because we are not giving them time and we don't spend time with them, they don't learn from us. They learn from outside, which is not supposed to be. So it has to be from the home. Like I all hear us from this platform. So let me tell you, we need to be practical. And for us, it's theory. All these things, we need to be practical. And to be practical, we need to come back to our homes. What's our character? What's our attitude? What's our mood? And what is our behavior? Those are the things that form us, and we go out there. Our children watch us, and they are the leaders of tomorrow. And so we are these leaders in our homes. What are we doing with the leaders in our homes? That's what matters now. What we are talking about is here now. And then we need to start building them. We need successive succession, not like you said, not only in 2023, for the future. So we need to have strategy and successive Succession planning. We need to plan. And to plan is not to be in the outside. It has to start from somewhere. And the planning has to be strategic. And that is from the home. When we groom our children and nurture them in the right way, so that the strategy is well planned. And when they go out, the succession, the outside, the planning is opened and people can see that this person is the right person because he's been groomed from the home. We need to correct the home environment before we can go to the community. We need to correct what we want to carry out to the community from the home. So when we are growing our leaders right from home, what we are doing with them is what they will go out and go and do. Our children see what we do every day. So we need to grow those leaders and we must be available for these children. We need to be available, family. We need to, you know, if you look at it these days, the father is with the phone, the mother is on the system, the children with phones. We don't even have time to talk to these children and even mentor them. We need to have that time. Family values are very important. If we can get it right from the home, honestly, it will go out there. If we can get it from the home, our communities are safe. We can get it right from home. Then the environment is safe. Then we can raise good leaders because the leaders are already in our homes, living with us. It's just how we are managing them and how we are ruling them in the home. That's what they go and practice outside. Because the corruption we are using at home, they will take it outside. Like I said, the mother that is stealing from her husband, those children are seeing it. And so the children will steal from the mother or the children will go out there and steal. So it starts from our home. The father that is stealing and bringing to the home, those children are watching you. And then you tell them not to go and steal in the streets. It's not possible. They will do the same thing. So our values, examples, our relationship and our discipline is very important. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, ma. Thank you so much, ma. What I took one high point from your last statement was how we need to start building successive succession. That is key. It is important how we need to start building successive succession. So the question is, if it starts from our home, you and I that are speaking right now, can you beat your chest before God, not even before man, because a lot of us don't even have that again, before God, that you are the kind of leader that your child can follow, that you are the kind of example that somebody in your community can look up to? Is that what it is? So it needs to start from there. So as far as I'm concerned, whether you are single or you're married or you have children, whatever it is, you need to start looking at yourself as that leader that the future is looking for. And so if you are that kind of leader, like she said, you won't even throw things out of the window when you are driving on the street. You won't abuse things. You won't misbehave, because you know that whether now or later, your track record, your behavior, and all those things that you do would affect the fact that people will see you if you are a credible leader or not. I'm going to ask the same question to Mr. Emmanuel, and then Pastor Geoff, you will take it lastly. The same question I asked Mrs. Folashade: how do we begin to move from all this array of issues, poverty, inflation, vote buying, and people not even understanding where they need to go to? How do we transit from there? Because it is not just theoretical as we are saying it here. We need to put it into practice. So for those people who have joined us just recently, thank you for joining. We appreciate you. We'll soon be out of here. But how do we move from that place where we are to that place that we want to go to? So Mr. Emmanuel, that would be like your closing charge.
Okay, at this point, I think, you know, the Bible talks about being not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. When it says by the renewing of your mind, you now use the word so that you can. That means until the mind is renewed, there are things you cannot do. There are things you cannot do. So be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you can do that is acceptable and perfect will of God. So it's important that the starting point is about mind transformation. And how do we do our mind transformation. It begins from you and I and each of us mentoring the next generation. And how can you mentor? You don't mentor, like I said earlier. See, for children, and what you do is so loud that children can hardly hear what you say. If you notice, children will always do what you do than what you say. There's this video on social media of a little girl who took her mother's phone. And the mom was trying to get the phone from her. They were actually outside, right beside their car. And the little girl was crying. So she left the phone with her to see what she wanted to do with the phone. And the dad was videoing them. You know that this little girl took her mom's phone and pasted it by the bumper of the car. She tried pasting it and for the thing fell. She took it again and dropped it at the bumper. And when it stood, she actually moved back and started turning herself around. That is, she's actually doing a selfie video, even though the video is not on. That is what that girl always see her mom do. So children do more of what you do than what you say. So like we said, leadership will begin at home. And leadership is not about, words. Yes, leaders rule by words, they speak by words, but your action will speak. Because true leadership is who you are when nobody is watching, when no one sees you, when no one is listening. What do you do when you are alone? Because it is from this point that other people will take the clue. Other people will take, will copy you and start acting. So, like we said, family is the smallest unit of a nation, or the individual is the smallest unit of the nation, and the individual must be groomed at home. So, outside at home, we also, as a person, we must also let our light shine. That's what the Bible says. Let your light shine. How does your light shine? It is high time for you to start living out leadership, not talking leadership, but living it out. You walk the talk. When you walk the talk, it will amaze you, those who are learning from you. And so, one day, a guy walked up to me and said, he said this before, Baba. He said, you be my mirror, and they follow you, Baba. And that thing just drew to my attention that, then, people have been observing me more than I thought. So there are things you do, you have to be very careful, because everything you do is beyond you. There are people out there who are actually watching and listening to everything you do. So it's imperative that we change our style. And we must also start talking about it. Start speaking about it. Start talking about what good leadership is like. When you sit people down, tell them how things are done. Even if you've not traveled physically abroad, you traveled through internet, you traveled through CNN, you've traveled through documentaries, and you traveled through association. You've met people who have traveled, and they've told you how things work abroad. And now you know what it's like in your head. You start informing the young ones, start telling someone little things like don't drop trash on the ground. Some people don't know that it is wrong. When you talk, I told somebody threw something out, or one day I was in public, but somebody threw something out, and I told him, I told her, she said, well done, local government. The person called me local government, and they said the carry government work for head. To her, what she did wasn't wrong. I was actually wrong. So we need to start educating people. We need to start enlightening people. It is through this education and enlightenment that we can effect the change. So that's our job. It's time for us to populate the number of fools. And how do you convert people who have been foolish to become wise? Through wisdom, through knowledge. Knowledge, and you don't speak above their head. Try to be practical so that they can understand you. And when they understand you, it is easy for them to practice it. In fact, if all of us, how many are we online now? We're 11 currently online. Some people have joined and left. If 11 of us decide that in the next 1 year, I want to educate 12 persons. 12 times 11 is almost 130 or so, or more than. that I want to enlighten 12 people around me to be conscious of the right thing to do. Believe you me, you have increased that number. And if that at the end of that year, you ask those 12 to teach another 12, why? Man, we will make progress. So I think it's important we start educating and enlightening our people, because all we are is all we know. To be more is to know more. What you don't know is bigger than you. But once you know it, you are in charge. And the day you come to the boundary of what you know, any step you take forward will be a mistake. So increase what you know. Geoff said, ask us also, do we learn, do we read? If you don't have time to read physical books, there are audio books. I have lots of audio books here on my phone. Sometimes we get so busy we can't read physically, but we can listen to audio books. You can do a lot of things. It was Henry Ford who said, whether at 20 or 80, if you stop learning, you are old. Whether
Okay.
at 20 or 80, if you keep learning,
I'll cut in there. Mr. Emmanuel, I'll cut in there because of our time. I would want to call on Pastor Geoff. I know Pastor Geoff is also a very great speaker. I hope he can do justice in the next 5 minutes because I want us to bring this meeting to a close. Pastor Geoff, this is something that you have been doing over the years. We need to move from where we are now. We've all agreed that this is not what we want. We don't need rulers anymore. We need leaders. And 2023 is here. We may not be able to do much of the change. The question is, and like I've asked the other panelists, how do we move from where we are now to where we want to be in terms of identifying, electing, and voting in credible leaders? Pastor Geoff, are you there?
Thank you very much. The Bible says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. The lack of knowledge is the root of all evil. When you lack knowledge, the person that has knowledge will rule over you. So the man that has more knowledge has more advantage. So we must go for knowledge. Let's go for knowledge. In Nigeria, we pray more than every other person, and yet we are the poorest. We fast more than every other people, yet we have terrorism and insecurity everywhere. Let me say something before I go. When I was hungry, the government set up a committee to investigate my hunger. When I was sick, the government set up a committee to investigate my sickness. When I was homeless, the government set up a committee to investigate my homelessness. At the end of the day, I was still sick, I was still homeless, and I was still hungry. The truth is this: the government does not care about you. If the government does not care about you, you must strive, you must fight to bring in somebody that cares about you, somebody that has empathy, somebody that has sympathy, somebody that has humanity. You are helpless because you want to be helpless. You are hopeless because you want to be hopeless. Refuse to embrace powerlessness. Choose powerfulness. Power cannot be found anywhere in the world. Power is hidden inside knowledge. Poverty is man-made. We created poverty and we can create prosperity. The raw materials for creating prosperity is not in America. It's not in India. The raw materials for creating prosperity is not in Namibia. It is not in China. The raw materials for creating prosperity is inside every individual. Raw materials for creating prosperity is inside Nigeria and it's in Africa. Your poverty is not made in China. Your poverty is self-made. If you are suffering, it is your fault. Think about your life as an individual, then step up and start thinking on how you can improve your life. If you can change your life, then you can change your family. If you can change your family, then you can change your neighborhood. If you can change your neighborhood, then you can change your community. If you can change your community, then you can change your city. If you can change your city, then you can change your country and then the world. You have that power. Righteousness exalts the nation, but sin is the reproach of the people. Nigerians are so intelligent, but yet they want God to help them do everything. God gave you mango. You are waiting for God to give you mango juice. God gave you pineapples. You are waiting for God to give you pineapple juice. That is our problem. Our government cannot help us. Our government is helpless. Don't wait on an helpless government to help you. Do something that the government will consult you. Do something that the government will require your idea. You are so intelligent, but it's time to share your intelligence. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so very much, sir. We really, really appreciate you and appreciate your time. And I say that with all sense of responsibility to our other panelists, that is Mr. Emmanuel Odoemelam and Mrs. Folashade Akinkunmi. Thank you so much. And to every other person who is currently on the platform, Toby Ogunleye, Pastor Michael Ifekoya, somebody used that as the X8, I don't know who that is, Daniel Mazie, Damilola Babalola Mokoku, Akinmoladun, and to every other person who joined and perhaps the network didn't allow you to stay. Thank you all for joining. I believe in my final statement, so we can leave this meeting and go about our other daily activities, is that there is a global shortage of leaders. From everything that our speakers and panelists have told us, there is a global shortage of leaders. And what that means is that the next set of leaders begins with you and I. The world is not looking for leaders out there. They are looking for you and I, who have joined ourselves together this morning on this platform, to say we want the best for our nation. So if it begins with you and I, it means in your own little area of influence, you can start changing things there. In your own family, you can start making the desired change that you want to see there. It is hidden inside of you. That's what Pastor Geoff told us. Power is hidden inside all of us. It begins with identifying it. It begins with self-improvement. It begins with a renewal of our mind, okay? So it is important that discipline, character, and all of those things that makes up for good leaders, we begin to imbibe them. And not just for ourselves alone, but for everyone that is around our circle of influence. Because if we get it right, beyond 2023, it is important that you and I begin to make up small groups of influencers, not internet or online influencers, but small groups of leaders, small group of influencers that will begin to make the desired change for us. The narrative has to change. Whether it is in 2023 or beyond, you and I can begin to make that difference. You can begin to encourage people around you, tell them how they need to identify credible leaders. It is not about stomach infrastructure. It is not about the little things that they will get when they go to the polling vote. We need to start educating them. And I believe that whether it is our speakers or those of us who have joined on the platform this morning, you're already doing that where you are. And so we need to multiply that, create a multiplier effect, and help our nation to be what God has created it to be. I want to say a very big thank you. I haven't said this to everyone that has joined. Beyond this meeting, we want to make this go viral. I can assure you that God helping me, we will continue on this platform with great topics, bring great minds together so we can, sharpen ourselves and begin to create that kind of change that we all want to see. Okay, so if that is the case, please, I would do well after this meeting to share us the video link so that we can, spread this message far and wide. Thank you all for coming. I believe Nigeria will be a great nation. I have one of my friends here and sister. We grew up together. Tessie, it's so good to have you on the platform. I think she was the one having the Galaxy 8 S8. Tessie, thank you so much for joining. Tessie, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you so much for inviting me into this great meeting. I've learned a whole lot today. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. I'm sure in our subsequent editions we'll have Tessie speak to us. That's one great mind also that Nigeria has. So I'll share the link very shortly on all our social media platforms, and then you can go there. Please do well to broadcast it, share it, and let people know that we are raising a generation of leaders. We are tired of the vicious circle of rulers and politicians we have, and we all are very, yearning to see that Nigeria becomes a great place for all of us to live in. Thank you again. On that note, I want to say a very thank you to our speakers once more. Wishing you a very Merry Christmas, a safe trip on all your journeys, and I hope to see you in 2023. As we all vote, please look out for credible leaders in the office, and I'll see you at the, that's my final take. Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate you all. I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you, Ma. God bless you.
Thank you so much. See you in 2023, everyone.
I'll see you. By the
grace of God.
Yes.